the truth no longer hid in shadows. It began to surface in fragments, through preparations that could no longer be explained away as cultivation, through rituals that carried the stench of death rather than balance, and through Zhang Buqu's growing impatience. Even without Su Ling's warnings or Xiao Bai's quiet understanding, Lu Minh would have known. The end was approaching, and so was the moment Zhang Buqu had waited for nearly 2 decades. Zhang Buqu began preparing openly. No longer did he bother to disguise his actions behind vague explanations of harmonizing yin and yang. The talismans he carved grew darker in color, inscribed with symbols Lu Minh had never seen in orthodox Taoist texts. The air around the compound thickened with an oppressive aura, as if the mountain itself sensed something unnatural was about to occur. The first thing Zhang Buqu acquired was a yin venom serpent. It was brought back one night in a sealed wooden chest bound with iron chains. The moment the lid cracked open, Lu Minh felt a stabbing chill pierce his meridians. The serpent inside was jet black, its scales slick like wet stone, its eyes glowing with a dull blue light. Yin energy poured from it in waves, cold and poisonous. This creature was born in a corpse pit, Zhang Buqu said calmly. Its venom erodes souls. The serpent was not meant to kill Lu Minh. It was meant to weaken his soul. Zhang Buqu fed the serpent carefully prepared offerings: blood, talismans, fragments of demonic cores. With each feeding, its yin venom grew more refined, more lethal. Lu Minh noticed that the old man handled the creature with reverence, almost fear. That alone revealed its importance. Next came the roosters, not ordinary ones. They were red-feathered, fierce-eyed, and raised on pure yang grains. Zhang Buqu selected them personally, rejecting dozens until he found those whose blood pulsed with vitality. These roosters were locked in separate cages, marked with talismans of sacrifice. "They will call the sun," Zhang Buqu explained one evening, as if lecturing a child. "Yang blood awakens young flesh." Lu Minh's stomach twisted. He knew enough now to understand. The roosters were not offerings to heaven, they were offerings to his body. As the days passed, the forbidden cave underwent drastic changes. New formations were etched into the stone floor, concentric circles overlapping in complex patterns. At the center lay a jade platform carved with ancient runes, stained faintly with dried blood. Chains extended from the pillars, their ends sharpened into soul-binding spikes. Lu Minh recognized the structure at once. It was not a protective array, it was a body-seizing altar. Hidden beneath it was a deeper formation, one designed to tear a soul from its vessel and anchor another in its place. The 4 female demons would act as yin anchors. The yin venom serpent would paralyze Lu Minh's consciousness. The rooster's blood would ignite the 9 yang constitution, and Zhang Buqu would descend. The date was chosen with meticulous care, the 18th birthday. In the world of cultivation, 18 marked the moment when a body's potential fully stabilized. Before that, Lu Minh's 9 yang constitution was volatile, powerful, but unstable. After that day, it would be complete, perfect. Zhang Buqu could not risk failure. On that day, Zhang Buqu said quietly, standing before the altar, "Your suffering will end." Lu Minh lowered his head in silence. He did not ask what kind of ending his master meant. Zhang Buqu grew increasingly unstable as the day approached. His body was failing rapidly now. Dark veins crept across his skin. His breath rattled in his chest at night. He no longer slept, instead meditating obsessively. consuming Lu Min's blood more frequently than before. His patience had run out. The ritual was no longer a choice, it was necessity. Lu Min observed everything he memorized. Every rune, every sigil, every sequence of movements Zhang Buqu practiced in preparation. He watched how the serpent was positioned, how the blood channels were carved into the stone, how the yin and yang forces were meant to collide at the altar's core. The plan was flawless, terrifyingly so. If executed as intended, Lu Min would not even have time to scream. His soul would be crushed under layers of yin suppression, drowned by venom, and finally burned away by his own awakened yang energy, leaving behind an empty shell. A body for Zhang Buqu to inhabit. Yet Zhang Buqu overlooked one thing. Lu Min was no longer ignorant. The boy he had raised to be obedient had become someone who understood the game. And understanding changed everything. On the surface, Lu Min remained compliant. He thanked his master, he endured the preparations, he acted afraid, uncertain, resigned. But beneath that calm exterior, his mind raced. The serpent could weaken souls, but it also carried yin venom that reacted violently with condensed yang energy. The rooster's blood could awaken the body, but too much yang could overload the altar itself. The formations were precise, but precise things shattered easily when disrupted at the right moment. Lu Min did not need to defeat Zhang Buqu. He only needed the ritual to fail. The night before his 18th birthday, Lu Min stood alone beneath the stars. For the first time, he understood what that date truly meant. Not adulthood, not maturity, but survival. Tomorrow he would either lose everything or take the first step toward reclaiming his life. Behind him, the mountain was silent, but deep within its heart, yin and yang were already stirring, waiting for the moment when heaven would be challenged. Lu Min knew he could not survive alone. Against Zhang Buqu, raw courage was meaningless. Against the demons, strength without strategy was suicide. If he wanted even the smallest chance to live, he would have to gamble on trust, on timing, and on a woman who was just as trapped as he was. The alliance he forged was fragile from the very beginning, but fragility was better than certain death. The first step of Lu Min's plan was the most dangerous, the yin venom serpent. That creature was the cornerstone of Zhang Buqu's ritual. The blade meant to paralyze Lu Min's soul at the moment of body seizure. Destroying it outright was impossible. Zhang Buqu guarded it too closely, and any sudden death would immediately alert him. So Lu Min chose a subtler method, poison, but not ordinary poison. Using the monthly ritual as cover, Lu Min deliberately forced a small amount of 9-yang blood into his own bloodstream and circulated it unnaturally fast. The pain was unbearable. His meridians burned as though molten iron had been poured into them. But he endured it. Then, under the guise of feeding the serpent, Lu Min allowed a single drop of that blood to fall into its container. To creatures of extreme yin, 9-yang blood was not nourishment, it was corrosion. At first, nothing happened. The serpent continued to coil within its chest, its cold aura unchanged. Zhang Buqu noticed nothing unusual. Confident, arrogant, and pressed by time, he failed to observe the subtle distortion forming within the creature's yin core. But over the following days, the serpent grew restless. Its scales lost their sheen. Its movements became erratic. The yin venom it produced fluctuated unpredictably, sometimes too weak, sometimes dangerously unstable. Lu Min saw it clearly. The poison was working, not killing the serpent, but corrupting its role in the ritual. When the moment came, its venom would no longer suppress Lu Min's soul cleanly. It would rebel. The second step required something far more terrifying than pain. It required trust. Lu Min went to Xiao Bai. The woman known as Sun Wang sat chained in her sealed chamber, talismans pressed into her skin, her yin slaughter aura suppressed to a dull, suffocating pressure. She looked at Lu Min calmly as he approached, as if she had been waiting for this moment. "You have decided," she said. "Yes," Lu Min replied quietly. "But I cannot do this without you." Xiao Bai studied him in silence. "You know what an alliance like this means," she said at last. "If we fail, you die. If we succeed, I may still kill you." Lu Min did not argue. "I know," he said, "but if we do nothing, we both die." For a long moment, only the sound of chains shifting filled the room. Then Xiao Bai nodded. "Very well," she said. "We cooperate." That was all. No vows, no promises, only survival. The third step was the price. To weaken the seals binding Xiao Bai, Lu Min had to use something Zhang Buqu would never expect him to sacrifice willingly: his tongue blood. The blood drawn from the tip of the tongue was not ordinary blood. It was fused with intent, spirit, and life essence. Every drop carried a fragment of the cultivator's foundation. Zhang Buqu had consumed it for years. Now Lu Min turned it against him. Late at night, when the compound was silent, Lu Min bit down hard. Pain exploded through his skull as blood filled his mouth. He nearly lost consciousness, but forced himself to remain awake. Carefully, he pressed the blood onto the talismans binding Xiao Bai. The reaction was immediate. The talismans smoked, runes cracked, yin and yang collided violently in the narrow chamber. Xiao Bai let out a sharp breath as the chains loosened slightly. Not broken, but weakened. The cost was devastating. Lu Min collapsed to his knees, vision spinning. His spiritual core trembled violently, cracks forming along its surface. Years of suppressed yang energy surged out of control, tearing through meridians already damaged by constant rituals. Blood ran freely from his lips. His cultivation suffered irreversible damage. Xiao Bai caught him before he fell. For the first time, emotion flickered, openly in her eyes, not pity, not calculation, but shock. "You are destroying yourself," she said quietly. Lu Min laughed weakly. "I already was," he replied. "This way, it means something." From that night onward, everything changed. Xiao Bai could not break free, but she could move. She could influence the flow of yin energy within the cave. She could subtly interfere with the formations anchoring the demons. And Lu Min grew weaker by the day. His face became pale, his steps unsteady. Zhang Buqu noticed the decline, but attributed it to pre-ritual strain. He did not realize that Lu Min had chosen to burn his own foundation to buy time. The alliance remained secret, precarious. One mistake would doom them both. Lu Min knew he had crossed a line he could never return from. Even if he survived the ritual, his cultivation path was damaged. His future was uncertain. Power, longevity, ascension, none of it was guaranteed anymore. But survival was, and for Lu Ming, that was enough. As the day of the ritual drew closer, yin and yang stirred violently beneath the mountain. The serpent's corruption deepened. Xiao Bai's restraints weakened fraction by fraction. Zhang Buqu prepared for victory, unaware that the vessel he had nurtured for 18 years had already begun to dismantle his masterpiece, one drop of blood at a time.